Life's a drag, right? Imagine suddenly being flung back to your 18-year-old self. Now imagine your dad is your classmate and becomes best buds with your son. This is Dae Young's story. He's a middle-aged guy, working his tail off day and night, facing a midlife crisis with his wife, Da Young. Their once sweet relationship has devolved into endless arguments, and after over a decade, their marriage is on the rocks. Da Young has filed for divorce. Dae Young is baffled. He sacrificed everything, even his dreams, for this love, only to face this bitter end. He remembers his glory days as the star basketball player in high school, poised to be recruited for the national team, but he gave it all up when he and Da Young discovered they were expecting twins. Two young kids, barely starting, with dreams of their own, chose love and responsibility over their aspirations. 18 years later, they're still struggling. Dae Young's been a maintenance worker for a decade, constantly dealing with difficult customers, swallowing his pride for good reviews and the slim hope of a promotion. He sees the happy families of his clients and longs for that with his own kids, suggesting a family dinner. He chatters away in typical dad fashion, but his teenage daughter, Xia, is preoccupied with her appearance, and his son, Shi Wu, has given up on basketball, lacking direction and purpose. Dae Young tells them not to worry about the divorce, promising a promotion that he's sure will change Da Young's mind. Shi, ever the opportunist, immediately tries to take credit for influencing her dad. Meanwhile, Da Young is prepping for a dance rehearsal. Her assistant praises her work, but the director remains unimpressed. No matter how well she performs, she can't escape the label of mom. The director's already looking for a younger, more attractive replacement. Back at work, Dae Young eagerly awaits the announcement of the 5-year promotion. Everyone expects him to get it, but the position goes to a new, younger employee. The harsh reality of the workplace hits Dae Young hard. 10 years of dedication lost to youth. He's resentful, but for the sake of his family, he bites his tongue. He pleads with his boss not to transfer him, knowing a move to Busan would be the final nail in the coffin of his marriage. He endures his boss's mockery until it crosses the line and targets his family. That's when he snaps and quits. Standing outside his apartment building, he bumps into an equally dejected Da Young. They're practically strangers now. Dae Young tries to salvage their marriage, but Da Young's mind is made up. Back in their apartment, Da Young looks at old family photos, reminiscing about happier times. The memories overwhelm her, and she rushes downstairs, but Dae Young is gone. He's returned to his old high school, a place filled with memories of a brighter past. Dae Young stared at the trophy encased behind glass, a relic of a past life, a symbol of dreams long abandoned. He let out a heavy, defeated sigh. Returning to the basketball court, the familiar setting only amplified his feelings of failure. He could barely dribble the ball, his body stiff and unresponsive. The scattered basketballs seemed to mock him, each bounce echoing the disappointments of his life. But surrender wasn't an option. With renewed determination, Dae Young picked himself up and resolved to give himself one last chance. He launched the ball towards the hoop, and as it arched through the air, the stadium lights abruptly died. Outside, a furious thunderstorm erupted, engulfing the world in darkness. When the lights finally flickered back on, Dae Young's life had taken a dramatic, unbelievable turn. He found himself in a brightly lit convenience store, craving the comfort of instant ramen and soju. As he went to pay, the clerk asked for his ID. Dae Young froze. Staring back at him was the face of his teenage daughter, Xia. The shock was overwhelming. He hadn't yet grasped the full reality of his situation, that he was somehow back in his 18-year-old body. Seeing Xia working a secret job, he launched into a fatherly tirade, scolding her for disobeying her parents. Xia, understandably bewildered, saw only a crazy stranger yelling at her. As Dae Young reached out to grab her, a startling sight in the store window caught his attention, stopping him dead in his tracks. Completely disoriented, Dae Young sought refuge at his old friend, Deok Jin's house. But Deok Jin, seeing a young stranger breaking in, immediately assumed he was a burglar. A chaotic and hilarious fight ensued, ending only when Deok Jin stumbled upon an old photograph. His eyes widened in disbelief as he recognized the younger version of his friend, Dae Young. After Dae Young recounted his incredible story, Deok Jin, ever the optimist, declared it a divine intervention, a second chance to chase those long-forgotten dreams. Dae Young looked towards a nearby basketball court, the place where his dreams had once flourished. The reality of his situation finally sunk in. He was 18 again. He would grab this opportunity with both hands and reclaim his stolen youth. His first step? Convincing Deok Jin to pose as his father and enroll him back in high school. The following day was supposed to be Dae Young and Da Young's divorce hearing. Da-young sat alone in the courtroom, the silence amplifying her anxiety. Where was Dae-young? She wouldn't recognize him if he walked in. The out-of-shape, middle-aged man she expected was gone, replaced by his youthful, athletic double. Dae-young, heart-pounding, approached Da-young and explained, as best he could, his unbelievable transformation and his commitment to fixing their broken marriage. As a heartbroken Da-young quietly exited the courthouse, her phone buzzed with unexpected news. She had passed the written exam for her dream job at a television station. Her long-held aspiration of becoming a broadcaster was finally within reach. Overcome with joy, she danced right there on the sidewalk, a spontaneous celebration of her rekindled dream. Meanwhile, Dae-young watched from a distance, too nervous to approach her in his new form. Seeing her exuberance, however, a seed of doubt began to grow in his mind. Was she celebrating her newfound freedom? Had she already moved on? His resolve to rewrite his life, to win her back, only intensified. With Deok-jin's slightly over-the-top assistance, Dae-young successfully enrolled in high school, posing as Deok-jin's son. Upon meeting a beautiful teacher, Deok-jin was instantly smitten, lost in a world of his own. The next day, Dae-young officially began his life as a high school student. On the crowded bus ride to school, a pregnant woman struggled to maintain her balance. A nearby student hoped the older gentleman sitting next to her would offer his seat, but he callously refused, muttering about pregnant women staying home. Da-young, witnessing the scene, was about to intervene when suddenly, the 18-year-old Dae-young appeared, offering his seat with a genuine smile. Da-young, impressed by his kindness, had no idea that this chivalrous young man was her husband. Reborn. Dae-young stepped off the bus and into the bustling hallways of his high school, unknowingly about to become classmates with his daughter. Shia immediately recognized Dae-young as the crazy guy from the convenience store. Fuming, she bit back her anger. Just then, Dae-young's phone rang. It was Da-young, demanding to know why he skipped their divorce hearing. He quickly told her he was working to save their marriage, and hung up. He then headed to the restroom, where he heard someone calling for help. To his astonishment, he found his son, Shi-woo, locked inside, a victim of relentless bullying. Dae-young introduced himself as a new student, and vowed to find out who was tormenting his son. Shi-woo, however, remained silent, refusing to name his bullies. At that moment, a group of basketball players swaggered in. Shi-woo instantly cowered. Their leader, Ja-sung, began taunting Shi-woo right in front of Dae-young. Dae-young, now seeing firsthand the torment his son endured, couldn't contain his rage. These arrogant bullies thought they ruled the school, preying on weaker students with impunity. They had no idea they were messing with Shi-woo's dad, a middle-aged man magically transformed into a teenager, ready to defend his son. As Ja-sung lunged at Shi-woo, fists clenched, a teacher suddenly appeared, interrupting the confrontation. Dae-young retreated to a quiet corner of the school, remembering his high school days. He recalled how he'd saved Deok-jin from bullies, cementing their lifelong friendship. Lost in thought, he wandered around the school and stumbled upon a shocking sight. His daughter, skipping class and smoking. He exploded, unleashing a torrent of fatherly fury. Shia, unimpressed, told him to mind his own business and disappear. Spotting a teacher approaching, she bolted, determined to set his daughter straight. Dae-young reported her behavior, hoping the teacher would discipline her. He urged the teacher to be harsh, to give Shia a much-needed wake-up call. But when the teacher reprimanded Shia, Dae-young instinctively stepped in to protect her. He couldn't bear to see his daughter hurt, even if it was a consequence of her own actions. Moments later, Da-young arrived at the school, summoned by the teacher. Dae-young, still uncomfortable facing her in his youthful form, avoided eye contact. Learning that Da-young also vaped, he lost control again, publicly criticizing both mother and daughter. Da-young, stunned, stared at Dae-young, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. Thankfully, Deok-jin arrived just in time to defuse the situation. The next day, Dae-young found himself confronted by Shia and her friends on the school rooftop. "I'm warning you," Shia declared. "Stay away from me." She had no clue she was threatening her own father. Dae-young watched her walk away, speechless. Seeing his daughter's tough exterior, he reminisced about a younger, sweeter Shia, her bright smile warming his heart. He couldn't believe how much she'd changed. Unbeknownst to him, Shia's tough act was a facade, a way to keep the new transfer student at arm's length. That evening, Dae-young saw Shia sneaking out to her part-time job. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't dissuade her. Then, he spotted Ja-sung and his crew following Shi-woo. Fearing another bullying incident, he trailed them, only to find Shi-woo alone at the basketball court. He remembered Shi-woo claiming he had no interest in basketball. Dae-young, using his fatherly voice, called Shi-woo and left a heartfelt message, promising his unwavering support no matter what. He then decided to join Shi-woo on the court, hoping to connect with his son differently. They played ball, a father and son bonding unexpectedly, becoming unlikely friends. Back at home, Xia faced her mother's questions about vaping. The crumbling marriage and her parents' constant fighting had deeply affected her, fueling her rebellious behavior and pushing her further away. Meanwhile, Dae-young, drowning his sorrows with Deok-jin, felt a pang of guilt for his children. He resolved to maintain his disguise to protect them at school. Da-young, seeking solace, went out with a friend and ran into her old acquaintance, Il-kwon. The weight of her failing marriage and Xia's rebellion pushed her to the brink. She was ready for a change, ready to step outside her comfort zone. Closing her eyes, she took a tentative step forward, memories flashing through her mind. Perhaps, she thought, she had made a mistake. It was time for a fresh start. Suddenly, a car sped towards her. A hand reached out, pulling her back just in time. Looking up, she saw a familiar face, triggering a flood of memories. It was like yesterday all over again. Dae-young moved closer, and Da-young shyly looked away. He had smelled alcohol on her breath. As she stepped back, she stumbled, caught by a man in a black suit. Il-kwon appeared, offering to take her home. A nervous Dae-young insisted on joining them. Before they left, Da-young noticed the smell of alcohol on Dae-young as well, and lectured him about taking care of himself. She spoke fondly of her husband, recalling his dedication to basketball, and how he never touched alcohol during his training days. Dae-young, tears welling up, realized that despite everything, she still cherished those memories, and saw the good in him. They were like most couples, aware of each other's strengths, but rarely expressing appreciation openly. The next morning, Dae-young resumed his rigorous training, determined to reclaim his athletic prowess. Da-young, equally determined, went for a run, maintaining her fitness for her upcoming broadcasting opportunity. But the encounter from the previous night lingered in her mind. Suddenly, a thought struck her. She rushed home, frantically searching through old photos of Dae-young. Her suspicion grew stronger. She stormed over to Deok-jin's house, ready to confront Dae-young. This unexpected divorce had thrown a middle-aged man back into his 18-year-old body, back to high school, where he'd become a campus heartthrob. He hadn't dared to face his wife in this new form, but here she was, standing on Deok-jin's doorstep. Da-young presented a photo of the young Dae-young. She hadn't figured out the time travel element. Instead, she suspected Woo-young was Dae-young's illegitimate son. Deok-jin, thinking fast, covered for Dae-young, diverting Da-young's suspicions. Back at school, Dae-young overheard Xia and her friends discussing ways to manipulate their parents for money. He was furious. He couldn't hold back, interrupting their conversation and lecturing them about respecting their parents' hard work. Xia, annoyed, complained that he sounded just like her old man. Before Dae-young could respond, she turned and walked away. As school ended, a downpour began. Seeing Xia staring longingly out the window, complaining about forgetting her umbrella, Dae-young braved the storm and ran to the convenience store, grabbing the last 2 umbrellas. He found Xia tying her shoelaces under the awning. Drenched, an umbrella appeared above her, revealing Dae-young's handsome face. Time seemed to stop. Xia, stubbornly independent, tried to refuse, but Dae-young gently pressed the umbrella into her hand. Watching Dae-young hurry away, Xia felt a flicker of curiosity. Dae-young raced to Shiwoo's classroom, placing the remaining umbrella on his son's desk before heading home. He chuckled to himself, wondering if any other dad went to such lengths for his kids. But as he reached the school gates, a disheartening sight stopped him in his tracks. Luxury cars lined the street, a stark reminder of his own financial struggles. Meanwhile, Da-young finally received the call she'd been waiting for. The broadcasting job was hers. At nearly 40, her dream was finally becoming a reality. Over the past 2 decades, she'd aced countless interviews, only to be rejected once they learned she was a mother of 2. While thrilled, her excitement was tinged with apprehension. Unsure who to share her joy with, she told Shiwoo, and they embraced in a moment of pure happiness. Suddenly, Dae-young appeared, wrapping them both in a hug. Despite the awkwardness, Da-young couldn't help but enjoy the shared moment of familial bliss. The 3 of them laughed and joked like kids. Unbeknownst to her, a bigger challenge was just around the corner. Da-young's personal information reached her new boss, who was furious to discover that his newly hired MC was a mother of high school students. He immediately arranged a special assignment, a thinly veiled attempt to sabotage her career before it even began. Da-young, oblivious to the brewing storm, walked into the broadcasting building, her heart filled with excitement. The warm applause of her new colleagues brought tears to her eyes. She was finally one of them, but the celebratory atmosphere quickly dissipated. Her colleagues were cold and distant. Recruits were quickly assigned to various programs, but Da-young was left alone in her empty office, feeling invisible. Finally, her manager called her name. Hope surged through her. This was it, her first assignment. The manager, flustered, explained that they needed an emergency MC for a live baseball game interview. He'd been frantically searching for someone when he'd found the office deserted, which had triggered his outburst. With no other options, he'd reluctantly chosen Da-young. This hard-won opportunity was, in fact, a setup, a trial by fire. Da-young was expected to prepare everything on her own, with minimal support. Facing the camera, Da-young nervously made her final preparations. The live broadcast with star player Ji-hoon began. Unaware of a prank being orchestrated by the baseball team, she continued with the interview. A bucket of water, meant for Ji-hoon, was accidentally spilled, drenching Da-young instead. As everyone on set gasped in shock, Da-young, thinking on her feet, flawlessly salvaged the live broadcast. Her quick wit and professionalism impressed everyone, even the director watching from the control room, who erupted in applause. Da-young had not only survived the sabotage, but had triumphed. Watching his mom's impressive performance on TV, and witnessing her dedication to her dream, Shi-woo found his courage reignited. He decided to pick up his basketball again and pursue his passion. After the broadcast, Da-young ran into Ji-hoon. Her quick thinking and intelligence had left a lasting impression. He found himself intrigued by this remarkable woman. The interview quickly went viral, earning Da-young widespread praise. As she stepped off the bus, Da-young appeared, noticing she was soaked. Without hesitation, he offered his jacket. Looking at the face that mirrored her younger husband, Da-young felt a surprising warmth spread through her. But just as things seemed to be looking up, crisis struck again. Rumors of Da-young's teenage pregnancy spread like wildfire online, quickly reaching the school. Da-young, overhearing Ja-sung taunting Shi-woo about the rumors, was enraged. Just as he was about to confront the bully, Ji-hoon unexpectedly stepped in, knocking Ja-sung to the ground. A fierce fight erupted. Ji-hoon, though brave, was no match for Ja-sung. Da-young intervened, separating the two. Both boys were called to the principal's office. Luckily, their gym teacher, Il-kwon, stepped in to defend them. After a stern lecture, Il-kwon took a call from Ja-sung's father, revealing a hidden side to this seemingly mild-mannered teacher. He had connections, power he wasn't afraid to use. Meanwhile, the online rumors about Da-young reached her bosses at the TV station. Despite her hard work and undeniable talent, they decided to let her go after the probation period. Shi-ah, unable to bear the slander against her mother, confronted Ja-sung. She could tolerate his insults directed at her, but not the lies about Da-young. Seeing the smirk on his face, she lashed out, defending her mother with fiery passion. Ja-sung, taken aback by her unexpected courage and strength, saw a different side to the girl he thought he knew. Later, Shi-ah, while chastising Ji-hoon for his impulsiveness, gently tended to his wounds. Ji-hoon felt a warmth bloom in his chest, touched by her unexpected kindness. During gym class, Shi-ah suddenly collapsed. Da-young rushed her to the hospital, his heart pounding with fear. As he watched over his unconscious daughter, he gently stroked her hair. When she awoke, Da-young realized something profound. She no longer saw him as her father. Meanwhile, Da-young was conducting another live interview with Ji-hoon. Disaster struck again. A stray ball hurtled towards her. In a breathtaking display of athleticism, Ji-hoon intercepted the ball, saving Da-young from harm. The moment was captured on camera and instantly went viral. Da-young was rushed to the hospital after the interview. Learning that Il-kwon had covered the medical expenses, she called Da-young, only to be met with indifference about Shi-ah's condition. Deeply disappointed, she had no idea that her husband had been by their children's side the entire time. After hanging up, Da-young immediately went to check on Shi-ah. Overhearing a conversation between her and Ji-hoon, he wandered the streets, alone and lost in thought. When he received a text from Da-young, tomorrow was their final divorce hearing. If he didn't show up, the court would finalize their divorce. The next day, the courtroom waited. Da-young was nowhere to be seen. Just as the judge was about to pronounce the final decree, a figure appeared in the doorway. The 18-year-old Da-young slowly walked into the courtroom. He walked towards Da-young, his heart pounding in his chest. In this final divorce hearing, the 18-year-old Da-young finally mustered the courage to face his wife. But he knew he couldn't maintain this charade any longer. He was ready to let her go. Just the day before, Dae-young had believed that returning to his youth was a divine gift. But in the eyes of his family, he was still the same unreliable husband, the same irresponsible father. He finally understood why Dae-young was so determined to end their marriage. At a recent high school reunion, former classmates had flaunted their successes, subtly, or perhaps not so subtly, mocking those who hadn't achieved the same level of prosperity. Dae-young, feeling the sting of their judgment, had wanted to escape the suffocating atmosphere. He'd sat alone, drinking, feeling like his failures were necessary to highlight their triumphs. Overwhelmed by resentment, he'd unleashed his pent-up frustrations, directing his anger towards Dae-young, who tried to comfort him. In his drunken rage, he'd said things he would regret forever, humiliating her in front of everyone. Now, back in his 18-year-old body, Dae-young finally understood that he had single-handedly destroyed his happiness. Facing the woman he'd spent 2 decades with, he poured out his heart, expressing his deepest regrets and unspoken love. With the judge's final decree, their marriage officially ended. The divorce brought immense pain to their children. Shi-woo sought solace on the basketball court, his heart heavy with sadness. Xia hid her tears in the darkness of an arcade. But life, cruel as it could be, went on. Dae-young, putting on a brave face, returned to work. Her colleague Yumi greeted her with feigned enthusiasm, taking a selfie with Dae-young and posting it online with a seemingly supportive caption. "So great to see Dae-young, my favorite colleague, not letting divorce get her down. Staying positive. You go, girl." The post, dripping with insincerity, quickly went viral, and news of Dae-young's divorce reached the school. Facing the whispers and stares of her classmates, Xia wandered through the hallways in a daze, oblivious to the litter she was trailing. Ja-sung, the school bully who'd relentlessly taunted her, approached, but this time, there was no malice in his eyes. He offered words of comfort, revealing a vulnerability Xia had never seen before. He shared his own experience with his parents' divorce, explaining how it had fueled his rebellion and apathy towards school. He'd seen Xia crying alone in the arcade, and had felt a pang of empathy for the seemingly tough girl, who clearly carried hidden pain. He felt a sudden urge to protect her. Just then, a teacher appeared, noticing the mess. He demanded to know who was responsible. Ja-sung, surprisingly, took the blame and quietly cleaned up the litter. Meanwhile, the newly divorced, 18-year-old Dae-young sought solace in alcohol. Teacher Hyein, visiting Deok-jin's house, found Dae-young drinking and mistakenly scolded Deok-jin for allowing his son to drink. The normally warm and approachable teacher's face hardened with disappointment. Deok-jin knew his image in the eyes of his goddess was shattered. He glumly declined a gaming invitation from a friend, unaware that the friend was, in fact, his beloved Hyein. The strict and serious teacher had a secret. She was a passionate gamer. Deok-jin, desperate to redeem himself, offered to send her a gift. Hyein, oblivious to his identity, even helped him choose a limited edition gold gaming headset. The next day, a beaming Deok-jin presented the headset to Hyein, who was speechless. She finally realized that Deok-jin was her online gaming buddy. While thrilled with the gift, her professional ethics prevented her from accepting it. A heartbroken Deok-jin trudged away, the golden headset weighing heavily on his head. Dae-young, having regained his composure, returned to school, determined to support his children. But after school, he spotted his elderly father across the street. Seeing the joyful reunion between his father and his children, Dae-young paused, his heart aching with a mixture of longing and regret. His father, noticing him, looked stunned. Dae-young had run away from home at 18, severing ties with his family. He'd never expected to see his son looking so young again. Later that evening, Dae-young saw Dae-young with Ji-hoon, their easy familiarity setting off alarm bells in his mind. Though divorced, he wasn't ready to let go. As Dae-young took a phone call, Dae-young and Ji-hoon exchanged tense glances. Meanwhile, in a darkened room, a mysterious figure with black painted nails stared at photos of Dae-young, seemingly knowing everything about him. Was this person connected to Dae-young's return to his youth? How long could he keep his true identity a secret? The divorce continued to fuel Xia's rebellion, and her grades plummeted. Late one evening, she snuck into the teacher's office to submit her overdue homework, only to find the cabinet locked. As she tugged at the handle, a stack of boxes tumbled down. Ji-hoon, also in the office, rushed to shield her. Their eyes met, the air thick with unspoken tension. Suddenly, 2 teachers entered the office. Xia and Ji-hoon scrambled into the cabinet, hiding in the cramped space. This proximity, this shared secret, sparked a new kind of intimacy between the childhood friends. Not just their bodies but their young, uncertain hearts drew closer. The romantic tension was shattered when a teacher tried to open the cabinet. She, and Ji-hoon instinctively clasped hands, their fear mixing with a strange thrill. Luckily, the teacher was called away, and they escaped undetected. Ji-hoon, reluctant to let go of Xia's hand, looked at her, words failing him. The shy boy couldn't bring himself to confess his feelings to his childhood crush. Meanwhile, Da-young found herself in an awkward situation. Both Ji-hoon and Dae-young offered to drive her home. She opted to walk, only to twist her ankle. Ji-hoon rushed her to the hospital. Dae-young, finding her broken high heel, took it to be repaired and bought her a pair of slippers. But when he arrived at the hospital, he was met with a painful sight. Da-young, wearing new, expensive shoes, laughing with Ji-hoon. Dae-young, his heart sinking, couldn't bring himself to approach them. Dejected, he went to Deok-jin's office, only to find his friend excitedly showing off an autographed baseball from Ji-hoon. Dae-young's childhood hero was now his rival. His frustration boiled over. Just then, A-Rain, Da-young's best friend, who was working late in the building, snapped the strap on her sandal, sending papers flying everywhere. Just as A-Rin braced for a fall, a figure appeared, catching her. Their eyes met, and a spark ignited between them. Flustered, A-Rin gathered her scattered papers, trying to hide her embarrassment. Then, a pair of pink slippers appeared before her. Back in her office, A-Rin smiled, admiring the slippers, unaware that they were a precious, unworn gift from Dae-young's past. Da-young faced her first day as a live news anchor. She endured the condescending remarks and criticisms from younger, less experienced colleagues, forcing a smile and accepting their unwarranted reprimands. Suddenly, a phone call interrupted them, a breaking news story, and Da-young's chance to prove herself had finally arrived. Only those who have navigated the cutthroat world of office politics can truly understand the exhaustion of constant competition and backstabbing. Da-young, a new employee nearing 40, was not only ignored by her superiors, but also subjected to the petty tyranny of her colleagues. For the sake of her children, she endured it all. Now, a major fire had broken out, providing her with an unexpected opportunity. Da-young and her colleague rushed to the scene. This was her first live, on-location report, and her nerves were frayed. Her colleague suddenly realized she'd left her makeup kit behind. Arriving at the chaotic scene, with firefighters battling the blaze, the colleague frantically searched for a replacement. The live broadcast was moments away. As a rescuer bumped into her, smudging her hastily applied makeup, the director made a snap decision. Da-young would take over. The live broadcast began, and Da-young, all nerves gone, delivered a flawless report. Her colleagues on the scene were impressed, and even her rival saw her with new respect. Dae-young, watching the news, knew the truth behind her seemingly effortless performance, the countless hours of practice and preparation Da-young had dedicated to her craft. During a staff meeting, Da-young's manager praised her performance. The director, however, reminded everyone that the rumors surrounding her divorce were still circulating online. For a news anchor, public image was everything. He reluctantly announced that someone else would be interviewing Ji-hoon, leaving Da-young baffled. Was divorce a crime? The director, overhearing her question, erupted in anger. Da-young, swallowing her frustration, endured the injustice. As a mother, she would bear anything for her children. After work, Da-young went to the baseball field, where Ji-hoon gifted her a pair of expensive sneakers. To express her gratitude, she agreed to a batting lesson. Under his patient guidance, she finally hit the ball, the satisfying crack of the bat seeming to release all her pent-up stress. A genuine smile finally graced her face. Just then, Ji-hoon received an urgent call and rushed to the police station. News broke, Ji-hoon had a child out of wedlock. A reporter, witnessing the scene at the police station, captured photos of Ji-hoon with his daughter. The story exploded online, and Ji-hoon's reputation plummeted. Da-young sent him a supportive text message, offering comfort and encouragement. Meanwhile, Deok-jin, having meticulously planned an elaborate proposal, was heartbroken when A-rin rejected him. Dae-young consoled his friend, unaware that their conversation was being overheard. A-rin and Da-young were having coffee nearby. As Dae-young and Deok-jin grappled with their romantic woes, Da-young appeared before them. That same day, reporters swarmed Ji-hoon's young daughter, relentlessly hounding her for information. The frightened child was overwhelmed by the sudden media frenzy. As Ji-hoon faced the onslaught of public criticism, Da-young offered a comforting presence, sending kind and supportive messages. The story picks up where episode 6 left off, with a troubled Ji-hoon desperately wanting to talk to Da-young. A-rin. At the same restaurant, overheard Deok Jin accidentally reveal Dae-young's real name. She was about to share her suspicions with Da-young when Da-young, seeing Ji-hoon's distress, rushed off to meet him. Intrigued, A-rin called Dae-young's phone, and it rang in his pocket, confirming her suspicions. A cornered Dae-young confessed his true identity. A-rin, realizing she'd developed feelings for Dae-young, while believing he was Deok Jin's son, was both mortified and furious. Ignoring his pleas for forgiveness, she demanded a fitting punishment for his deception. Dae-young was officially in the doghouse. Meanwhile, Da-young met with Ji-hoon, and his secret finally came to light. Seo Yeon wasn't his daughter, but his niece, the child of his late brother. From a young age, Ji-hoon's brother had raised him, acting as both brother and parent after their parents died. Even as adults, his brother had always prioritized Ji-hoon's career, even sacrificing his engagement for it. Ji-hoon carried a heavy burden of guilt over this sacrifice. Just as Ji-hoon's professional baseball career was taking off, he returned home to find a baby girl. His brother's ex-fiancée had abandoned Seo Yeon, leaving her in his brother's care. Later, tragedy struck, and Ji-hoon's brother died in a car accident. Devastated, Ji-hoon took on the responsibility of raising Seo Yeon, determined to protect her as his brother had protected him. Now, fearing the scandal would harm Seo Yeon, Ji-hoon considered quitting baseball. Da-young, hearing his story, offered a different perspective. She spoke of the burden of gratitude, the feeling of being a weight on someone who has sacrificed so much for you. Drawing parallels to Dae-young's sacrifices for her and their subsequent struggles, she urged Ji-hoon not to give up on his dream. A happy Ji-hoon, she argued, would mean a happy Seo Yeon. She promised to remain his biggest fan, echoing the very words his brother had once spoken. Ji-hoon found himself falling deeper under her spell. As they walked along a path, cherry blossom petals swirling around them, they discussed ways to entertain children. Da-young mentioned catching falling petals and making wishes, a simple trick that could keep kids occupied for hours. Ji-hoon, with effortless grace, caught a petal. Just then, a passerby recognized them. Protective of Da-young, Ji-hoon shielded her with his cap, hiding her from view. Even after the person had passed, he playfully pretended they were still being watched, prolonging the intimate moment. Elsewhere, Il-kwon visited a bar, ostensibly for work. It was revealed that the bar wasn't owned by his brother, as previously suggested, but by Il-kwon himself. A-rin, witnessing Il-kwon's clandestine visit to the bar, was too drunk to register its significance. In her inebriated state, she blurted out Dae-young's true identity to Il-kwon, leaving him utterly bewildered. The next day, Dae-young and Deok Jin pleaded with A-rin to keep their secret. Dae-young confessed his past failings as a husband and father, emphasizing his newfound commitment to his family and his sobriety. Deok Jin chimed in, highlighting Dae-young's positive influence on Si-woo, helping him regain his confidence and passion for basketball. Annoyed but overwhelmed, A-rin reluctantly agreed to stay silent. However, back at the office, seeing the pink slippers Dae-young had given her, she flew into a rage, not only throwing the slippers away, but also vowing to reveal a shocking secret to Da-young. At school, Xia arrived late. Ja Seong, having waited for her outside, was also tardy. It seemed the bully's heart was softening. As punishment, the late students were made to run laps. Ji-hoon, not late himself, joined them, even carrying Xia's bag. The rivalry between him and Ja Seong intensified. Meanwhile, Dae-young and Si-woo participated in basketball tryouts, drawing a crowd. Dae-young went first, showcasing his skills with impressive dribbling and a stunning half-court shot. His familiar playing style reminded Il-kwon of the high school basketball star Dae-young once was. Coupled with A-rin's drunken revelation, Il-kwon began to suspect something. Xia and Ji-hoon, watching Dae-young's impressive performance, exchanged smiles. Si-woo's turn came, and he played with newfound confidence and skill, driving to the basket, faking, passing, and finally sinking a three-pointer. Both father and son had aced the tryouts. Il-kwon informed them that they were practically on the team, pending a meeting with their parents. Dae-young, spotting Xia at the gym entrance, waved. Her reaction was frosty, almost as if she saw him as a rival for a spot on the team. After school, Si-woo took Dae-young to meet his grandfather. With the upcoming parent-teacher meeting looming, he needed someone to stand in for his parents. His mother was dealing with the scandal, and Dae-young, according to his fabricated backstory, had a father in Busan. Meeting Mr. Hong again, Dae-young heard his grandfather's assessment of his younger self, a talented basketball player who earned his place on the team through hard work, not through bribery or favors. Mr. Hong, despite his gruff exterior, clearly held a deep pride for his grandson. He instructed Shi Wu to contact his parents first, offering to step in only if they were unavailable. Shi Wu happily bid farewell to his grandfather. At the gate, Dae Young advised him to tell his mother about rejoining the basketball team. Honesty, he emphasized, was crucial in families. Shi Wu agreed with a smile. On their way home, they ran into Da Young and A Rin. Da Young had heard about Shi Wu's return to basketball. Dae Young, assuming his secret was out, frantically tried to pull Da Young aside for a private conversation. But A Rin hadn't betrayed him, she'd only revealed Shi Wu's news. Shi Wu proudly announced that he'd made the basketball team, sharing a joyful moment with his mother. Later, Dae Young and A Rin had a private conversation. A Rin explained her reasons for keeping his secret. She'd asked Da Young about her impressions of Deok Jin's son, and learned about the young man's constant support and comfort during Dae Young's difficult times. Seeing the positive change in Dae Young, A Rin decided to protect his secret, at least for now. As they parted ways, A Rin, ever curious, asked Dae Young his secret to looking so young. He deflected, playfully suggesting that A Rin looked the same as she did in high school. A Rin, flattered, mistook his comment as a compliment about her youthful appearance at 37. In reality, Dae Young meant that she looked as old in high school as she did now. Luckily, A Rin's misunderstanding saved Dae Young from a potentially awkward situation. Meanwhile, Choi Il-kwon took Da Young to a nightclub, ostensibly to discuss Shi Wu's place on the basketball team. He'd also invited a group of shady associates, whose crude jokes and suggestive comments angered Da Young. She stormed out, followed by Il-kwon, who insisted that these men held the key to Shi Wu's future basketball career. He then slipped Da Young a bank account number, blatantly soliciting a bribe, claiming it was the only way to guarantee Shi Wu playing time. A distraught Da Young left, realizing the dark underbelly of high school sports mirrored the corrupt world of adults. Il-kwon then summoned Deok Jin, making the same demands. Deok Jin, witnessing Il-kwon's extravagant lifestyle and recalling his false claims of a relationship with In, felt a pang of pity for the teacher. Il-kwon tried to leverage Dae Young's basketball aspirations for money, but Deok Jin refused, walking away in disgust. Back home, Deok Jin informed Dae Young about Il-kwon's scheme. Worried that Da Young, attending the parent-teacher meeting before Deok Jin's son, would be at a disadvantage, Dae Young rushed home, calling Shi Wu to learn that Da Young wasn't home yet. He found her at their usual secret spot, a quiet place near their home. He pretended he was looking for Shi Wu and just happened to pass by. Da Young, drinking alone, lamented that Dae Young had seen her drinking 3 times now. Dae Young, understanding her pain, cryptically advised her to always choose the honorable path, just like his parents had. Da Young seemed to consider his words. In a moment of boldness, Dae Young reached for her hand, then quickly retracted it, explaining it as a gesture of positive energy. Da Young, seemingly convinced, let it slide. The next day, trouble found Dae Young. Il-kwon publicly called him Hong Dae Young, questioning whether he was Deok Jin's son or Dae Young himself. He was clearly suspicious. That night, Da Young called A Rin, revealing her plan to meet Il-kwon at school, pretending to pay the bribe while secretly recording the exchange as evidence. A Rin warned her it was dangerous, but Da Young was determined. Meanwhile, Dae Young, contemplating how to expose Il-kwon, received a call from A Rin about Da Young's risky plan. He raced to the school. After the call, a horrified A Rin realized she'd revealed Dae Young's true identity to Il-kwon while drunk. At the school, Da Young handed over the money, subtly extracting information about Il-kwon's connections to national team coaches. Il-kwon, growing suspicious of her probing questions, realized she was recording him. Deok Jin, spotting Il-kwon leaving a hotel with a woman, assumed he was cheating on In and attacked him. The resulting brawl landed them both at the police station. Deok Jin, refusing to settle, demanded to make a call. Instead of a lawyer, In arrived, revealing that Il-kwon had lied about their relationship. Humiliated, Il-kwon insulted In, triggering another fight and another trip to the police station. The exasperated officer warned Deok Jin to stop talking before he got beaten beyond recognition. Ji-hoon orchestrated a chance encounter with Da Young, who, having received a text from A Rin advising against returning to the restaurant, politely declined his offer of a ride home. Just then, an older gentleman offered assistance, leading to an awkward but heartwarming moment as Ji-hoon protectively put his arm around Da Young. She felt a jolt of attraction, captivated by his smile. With the next round of basketball tryouts approaching, the principal pressured Il-kwon to select qualified players, warning him about the recent scandal involving a rival school's team and bribery. Il Kwon assured him he'd choose based on merit, but reluctantly allowed Dae-young and Shi-woo to participate. Da-young, still determined to expose Il Kwon, planned to gather evidence at the parent-teacher meeting. But no other parents showed up. Only Dae-young arrived, thanking her for her efforts on their behalf. Noticing her discomfort, he bought her medicine and gently massaged her stomach. Da-young, seeing a flicker of her husband in his actions, abruptly left. Her mother, recognizing Da-young's emotional turmoil, lamented her daughter's lifelong habit of bottling up her feelings. Later, Xia lashed out at Da-young for touching her belongings, seeking her grandmother's support. The grandmother, fiercely protective, sided with Xia, demanding an apology from Da-young. Dae-young visited his mother's grave. His father, wanting to spare him distress before a crucial game, had hidden his mother's illness, preventing Dae-young from saying goodbye. The resentment had festered, compounded by his father's pressure on Da-young to have an abortion. Dae-young had cut ties with his father, vowing never to become like him. Yet, he'd ended up making the same mistakes. Now, he understood the weight of fatherhood. Meeting his father at the cemetery, Dae-young realized his father also regretted denying him the chance to say goodbye to his mother. Dae-young invited him to watch his and Shi-woo's game. On game day, Il Kwon benched Dae-young and Shi-woo. The team struggled, falling far behind. Ja-seong, playing erratically, was further demoralized by his father's presence in the stands. The exasperated principal confronted Il Kwon, threatening to replace him if the team lost. Reluctantly, Il Kwon put Dae-young and Shi-woo in the game. Dae-young's presence revitalized the team. His strategic plays and assists, combined with a surprising synergy with Ja-seong, helped them close the gap. Finally, Dae-young sank a three-pointer. Watching from the stands, his father saw not just his son, but a younger version of himself, triggering memories of his late wife and their shared love of basketball. It was a bittersweet moment, a poignant reminder of what he'd lost. Dae-young's victory sign, using sign language, brought tears to his father's eyes. The long-overdue embrace and apology finally came. Da-young, receiving news of Shi-woo's victory, walked across a bridge that held significant memories of her and Dae-young. His words, his promises, echoed in her mind. She walked away silently, seemingly resigned to the divorce. Why then did these memories resurface? Lost in thought, she bumped into Dae-young. Wasn't that Dae-young? Da-young saw a flicker of her former husband in the young man's face. How would she react to Woo-young? How long could Dae-young maintain his deception? Despite the team's victory, Il Kwon continued to pressure Da-young for money, threatening to bench Shi-woo for the final game. Determined to expose his corruption, Da-young continued to gather evidence. Other parents, however, accepted this unspoken rule, prioritizing their children's athletic careers over ethical concerns. One father, whose son had been replaced despite the bribe, confronted Il Kwon, only to be forced to pay even more. Bowing subserviently before a group of university coaches, Il Kwon was both a perpetrator and victim in this corrupt system. He solicited bribes, promising connections and opportunities, while simultaneously being exploited by the same system that had taken his family's money for his coaching position years ago. He warned Dae-young to stay out of it. Dae-young helped Da-young organize a meeting with the other parents. Deok-jin revealed that he had been bullied by Il Kwon for witnessing Il Kwon's father bribing a coach years ago. Now Il Kwon was perpetuating the same cycle of corruption. Deok-jin argued that Il Kwon was unfit to be a teacher and should be fired. The other parents, however, feared retaliation and worried about the impact on their children's futures. Bribery, they argued, was commonplace. They were willing to pay if it guaranteed their children's acceptance into university. Da-young stood up, declaring that parenthood wasn't about making children proud, but about not being shameful. Bribing their way into college, she argued, set a terrible example. What message did it send to their kids? Assuring them she had enough evidence to report Il Kwon, she urged them to stand with her. Da-young then arranged an interview with a university coach, ostensibly for a news story. The coach, upon learning about Il Kwon's demands, was furious. Da-young contacted Il Kwon, confronting him with evidence of his illegal bar operation and the bribery scheme. Deok-jin joined the confrontation, further provoking Il Kwon, who attacked them both. Just then, the other parents emerged from hiding, ready to testify against him. They wouldn't stand for his corruption any longer. Il Kwon and the implicated coaches were arrested and charged with illegal recruitment practices. Visiting his son in jail, Il Kwon's father berated him. Il Kwon retorted that his father's past actions had set him on this path. He blamed his father for not setting a better example. After the scandal, Hai and saw Deok-jin in a new light. Ja-seong reconciled with his father, and apologized to Shi Wu, claiming he still wanted to be his brother-in-law. With the school anniversary approaching, students volunteered to decorate the photo wall. Ja Song, seeing Ji-hoon, Shi-ah, and Dae-young working together, felt a pang of jealousy but maintained his arrogant facade. In the music room, Shi-ah bumped her head. Dae-young's instinct to comfort her was interrupted by Ji-hoon, who grabbed his hand. Dae-young, delighted to see the young man's affection for Shi-ah, realized he had a rival. Just then, Ja Song entered, offering his assistance and pointedly asking Dae-young if he liked Shi-ah. He declared Shi-ah his and warned Dae-young to stay away. If Dae-young had a gun, he would have shot Ja Song right there and then. Ja Song, now frequenting the convenience store where Shi-ah worked, bought 2 drinks, offering one to her with a smug, "Buy one, get one free" comment. Annoyed, Ji-hoon snatched the drink and drank it himself. The rivalry continued to escalate. Dae-young, arriving unexpectedly, saw his daughter being pursued by 2 boys. He used the excuse of being sent by Da-young to take Shi-ah home, forcing her to accept the gift. Just then, they ran into Da-young. The potential for a father-daughter romance was an unsettling thought. As Dae-young and Da-young shared a tender moment, the mysterious figure reappeared, documenting Dae-young's every move. Was this an obsession or something more sinister? Da-young, having barely resolved her children's issues, faced a new crisis at work. One of the 4 anchors would be let go, and she was the only one without a regular program. Then, she received an offer to host a show about divorce, a sensitive topic given her recent experience. She hesitated but knew that refusing might cost her her job. Ji-hoon, overhearing her dilemma, engineered another chance encounter, inviting her to dinner. Despite his aversion to spicy food, he encouraged her to order the spiciest dish, delighting in her enjoyment. He even mimicked the restaurant owner's playful request for Da-young's autograph, boosting her confidence. He was the perfect gentleman, making Da-young's decision even more difficult. A-rin told Dae-young about the divorce show offer. Understanding Da-young's ambition, he reminisced about their shared past, remembering her unwavering focus on becoming a broadcaster. He recalled her belief in hard work and dedication, regardless of the outcome. He encouraged her to seize the opportunity. As they walked home after watching fireworks together, Dae-young saw a little girl running into traffic. He pushed her to safety, taking the brunt of the impact himself. In classic K-drama fashion, the inevitable car accident had arrived. As he lay unconscious, memories flooded back, intentionally arriving late to school to be punished alongside Da-young, waking her up with daily phone calls, serenading her on the street, defending A-rin from bullies, and carrying her books. He remembered their first awkward, almost confession, and their eventual connection through their shared love of music at the school festival. He awoke in the hospital, back in his original body as Dae-young. Da-young rushed to his side, embracing him tightly, his children clinging to him. Their family seemed whole again, but his vision blurred, and he awoke again. Still as Woo-young, Da-young, and the children were gone. He went to check on Shi-ah at work, but couldn't find her. On her way home, Shi-ah stubbornly took a shortcut through an unlit alley. Despite the security cameras, she was confronted by a thug. Using her self-defense skills, she fought back, but he pulled a knife. The keychain alarm Dae-young had given her startled him, giving her a chance to escape. Just then, Dae-young appeared, knocking the attacker unconscious. At the police station, Da-young landed a few punches of her own. The attacker, it turned out, had a criminal record and had been stalking Shi-ah, not Dae-young. Da-young's mother arrived at the station to thank Dae-young, who accidentally let slip a detail revealing his knowledge of their family's past. An awkward silence followed, broken by Da-young's playful remark that he should be calling her mother-in-law. Dae-young, flustered, made an excuse and left. Ji-hoon, trying to bond with his niece, showered her with attention, driving her to school, telling her stories, and even bringing her to his TV interviews. She remained indifferent until a display of stuffed animals caught her eye, leading her to wander off and get lost. Fortunately, she ran into Da-young, whom she seemed to like instantly. Ji-hoon, relieved, felt his affection for Da-young grow. During an interview, Yoo Mi slyly asked about Ji-hoon's ideal type. The seemingly disastrous question turned into a heartwarming moment, as a happy Ji-hoon openly expressed his admiration for Da-young. As the school anniversary approached, classmates teased Shi-ah about being single, predicting a confession at the event. Shi-ah declared she was waiting for the right person, someone positive and supportive. Ja Song and Ji-hoon both took note. Dae-young, joining Shi-ah, showcased his talents, reminding her of her father. During the festival's confession segment, Deok Jin, not to be outdone, attempted a grand gesture in the park, only to be rejected by Hyen. Dejected, he returned to his office, giving the flowers to A Rin, who scolded him for his predictable singlehood. Da-young, ever kind, helped an elderly man cross the street. This man was the same person who had advised Dae-young to fix his life. Could this mean Da-young would also be given a chance to relive her youth? At the school festival, Ja-song and Ji-hoon, both smitten with Shi-ya, were stunned into silence when she appeared in a princess costume. Dae-young, ever the proud dad, took photos and sent them to Da-young. The same singer from their youth performed at the festival, triggering a wave of nostalgia. Dae-young, receiving a photo from Da-young, saw the lingering affection in her eyes and decided to look for her. He found her watching Ji-hoon's interview on a large screen in the town square. Ji-hoon described his ideal type as someone kind, competent, and beautiful. Da-young wondered aloud where such a perfect person existed. Just then, Ji-hoon appeared behind her. Dae-young, watching their friendly exchange, felt a pang of despair. He felt like a failure, unable to provide Da-young with the happiness she deserved. What could he, a high school student again, possibly offer her? Da-young, however, dismissed Ji-hoon's comments as playful banter, unaware of his genuine feelings. She excused herself, claiming a prior engagement, declining Ji-hoon's invitation. The person she was waiting for was Dae-young, who, convinced he was sacrificing his happiness for hers, made an excuse to avoid the meeting. Da-young, furious at being stood up, didn't realize he was the one she'd been waiting for. Chaos erupted at the school festival, sparking rumors of a terrorist attack or attempted murder. The real cause, however, was Ja-song's grand, albeit disruptive, romantic confession to Shi-ya. He serenaded her, presenting her with a bouquet of flowers. Amidst the cheers and gasps, Shi-ya accepted the flowers, though her true feelings remained hidden. Gossiping classmates, unaware that Shi-hu was listening, criticized her acceptance as fake. The resulting argument led to a spilled drink, causing a power outage. Dae-young, questioned by a teacher, was surprised to learn of Ja-song's successful confession, having orchestrated it himself. He distinctly remembered Shi-ya telling him she hated such public displays, so he deliberately misled Ja-song, expecting a rejection. Now, he kept a watchful eye on the new couple, forbidding even hand-holding, let alone kissing. At the TV station, a breaking news story arose. The manager wanted to assign it to Yumi, but she was scheduled to interview Ji-hoon. Reluctantly, he assigned it to Da-young. Yumi, sensing a career-making opportunity, immediately claimed the assignment, despite the manager's initial choice. Her ambition backfired spectacularly. The breaking news turned out to be a report on a typhoon, requiring her to stand in the pouring rain. Dae-young, following Shi-ya, discovered she was going to a baseball game. He smiled, a proud dad moment, until he saw an advertisement for a kiss cam event. Determined to prevent any on-screen smooches, he bought a ticket and sat next to Shi-ya, only to discover her date was Ji-hoon. It turned out Shi-ya had accepted Ja-song's flowers to avoid embarrassing him publicly. She had no romantic interest in him. Ji-hoon, sensing an opportunity, had invited her to the game. Coincidentally, Ja-song was filling in for a colleague and interviewing Ji-hoon. Much to Shi-ya's delight, Ji-hoon invited Da-young to dinner, and Shi-ya, ecstatic, urged her mother to accept. The two young rivals, Ja-seong and Ji-hoon, insisted on joining them. Ji-hoon, amused, realized Shi-ya had more fans than he did. At dinner, Dae-young served clam chowder, giving Shi-ya a heaping bowl. Ji-hoon, unable to resist, gave Da-young an equally generous portion, prompting Shi-ya to comment on Ji-hoon's apparent crush, revealed during his interview. The atmosphere grew tense. Ji-hoon admitted his feelings but hadn't confessed yet. While Ji-hoon took a phone call, Dae-young warned him to stay away from Da-young. Ji-hoon, amused by the teenager's audacity, reminded him that some fantasies are just that, fantasies. Deok Jin, attending a cosplay event, ran into Hyen again. It turned out Hyen was a passionate cosplayer, but hid her hobby due to her profession. She worried that parents wouldn't trust a teacher with such an unconventional interest. Deok Jin encouraged her, arguing that cosplaying was cool and that she should embrace her passion. Meanwhile, Dae-young, having had an unpleasant dinner with Ji-hoon, sought advice from his father. Expecting traditional, conservative wisdom, he was surprised to find his father even more old-fashioned, advocating for paid education as the sole path to success. Dae-young disagreed, acknowledging his own shortcomings as a father. Da-young's divorce show premiered. Couples aired their grievances, and the audience voted on whether they should divorce. The first couple featured a wife complaining about her in-laws' constant criticism and her husband's inability to defend her. The audience overwhelmingly voted for divorce. The expert, however, blamed the wife, stating she shouldn't have married into a family with 3 unmarried sisters-in-law living at home. The wife, outraged by the expert's antiquated views, stormed off. The TV executives, captivated by the drama, watched the live broadcast with bated breath, wondering how Da-young would handle the crisis. Da-young apologized to the viewers and then launched into a powerful commentary on modern marriage and the sacrifices women often make. She challenged the traditional notion of a wife's duty to her husband's family, suggesting that treating daughters-in-law with respect, rather than as indentured servants, would solve many problems. The executives were impressed by her insightful analysis and began to recognize her talent. The second couple argued about childcare and household chores. Both worked full-time, but the wife felt unsupported. The argument escalated until the wife revealed she'd recently undergone a minor surgery due to exhaustion. The husband, unaware of her health issues, complained that she hadn't told him. The audience was split, and the expert turned to Da-young for the deciding vote. Surprisingly, Da-young voted against divorce. She argued that the couple's lack of communication stemmed not from a lack of love, but from a desire to protect each other from worry. This desire to hide their struggles had backfired, creating misunderstandings. She urged them to be honest with each other, echoing her own experience with Da-young and their communication breakdown. The expert then provocatively asked if Da-young regretted her divorce. She admitted she did. Da-young, watching the broadcast, was stunned. Ji-hoon, realizing Da-young was the woman he'd met at the square, was equally surprised. The broadcast ended on a high note. The expert, apologizing to Da-young for his earlier insensitivity, gave her a bowl full of clams. Da-young, choked with emotion, remembered Da-young. Knowing she disliked clams, he'd always pick them out of her food. That's why Ji-hoon, attentive to her preferences, hadn't given her any during their dinner. Exhausted, Da-young returned home, where Da-young was waiting. He'd seen her go to their secret spot, and, realizing she was drunk, had rushed to check on her. Da-young, tears in her eyes, cried, "Da-young, why are you so late?" She had been waiting for him. Overcome with emotion, Da-young kissed her. Before the next episode began, a flashback to 7 years earlier showed Da-young, consumed by work, forgetting Da-young's birthday. He suddenly remembered it was her birthday and had prepared a simple but heartfelt celebration. After the party, they went to their secret spot, where he gave her a zodiac-themed necklace. Da-young, delighted, looked at the half-moon and commented on its bittersweet symbolism. Da-young countered that the other half, though unseen, was still there, just like her presence in his life. They spent the night sharing their feelings, their hearts open to each other. Back in the present, both Da-young and Da-young carried the weight of their separate lives. The drunken kiss lingered in Da-young's memory, while Da-young dismissed it as a dream. Every mention of Woo-young made her tense until her mother confirmed she'd come home alone, bringing a sense of relief. But fate had other plans. She ran into Da-young, who offered her chocolate milk, her favorite hangover cure, claiming he had an extra one from a buy one, get one free deal. As she drank the milk, she couldn't help but stare at his lips, the dreamlike kiss flashing through her mind. On the bus, Da-young praised her performance on the show, but his words only intensified her memory of the kiss. Flustered, she reminded him that she was his classmate's mother, emphasizing the generational gap between them. Suddenly, the bus braked, throwing her into his arms. Mortified, she rushed off the bus at the next stop, fleeing the awkward situation. Ironically, she immediately encountered a couple kissing, amplifying her embarrassment. At work, Da-young received praise for the show's high ratings. Her trial run had been such a success that it was now a permanent program. Yu Mai, envious, muttered about the meaninglessness of online popularity, prompting colleagues to remind her of her own brief viral fame, a disastrous weather report that had become a meme. Their boss, Wang Qi, also praised Da-young, but later made a secretive phone call to a reporter, hinting at a scandalous story. It turned out Wang Qi, inspired by Da-young's publicity, had leaked his own divorce news, hoping for similar attention, but was completely overshadowed by her. His boss, Sang Hui, suggested making Da-young a permanent employee. That evening, Deok Jin invited Da-young to dinner, where she unexpectedly encountered Da-young. Da-young, having orchestrated the date, pretended Deok Jin was unavailable. As they dined, Da-young lamented how he'd taken Da-young's brilliance for granted, confining her to the roles of wife and mother. He remembered her long-forgotten wish to dine at that very restaurant, a wish he'd repeatedly ignored due to work. Dae-young, now deeply regretting his past actions, used the excuse of a forgotten umbrella to share one with Da-young. He'd actually left his umbrella at the restaurant on purpose. As they walked, he tilted the umbrella towards her, getting himself soaked, even shielding her from the spray of a passing car. The small gesture spoke volumes. Their eyes met, hearts pounding. Da-young invited him inside, offering him Shi-woo's dry clothes. Dae-young, seizing the opportunity, took off his shirt right in front of her. Flustered by his youthful physique, Da-young retreated to her room, her face burning. Just then Ji-hoon called, announcing his arrival. He arrived with flowers, congratulating her on the show's success, and giving her tickets to a party hosted by Deok-jin's company and the baseball team, meant for Xia. He then noticed Dae-young glaring at him. The two rivals engaged in a passive-aggressive standoff, Dae-young telling Da-young not to smile at strangers. Da-young, confused by his possessiveness, watched him storm off. Ji-hoon, amused, pointed out the obvious. The kid had a crush on her. Teenagers, he observed, weren't discerning about age. Meanwhile, Boe visited Xia at the convenience store, confessing her rejected feelings for Dae-young and speculating that he might like Xia. A hilarious misunderstanding ensued. Later, in Ra, Da-young and Xia watched a melodramatic movie, but their own emotional turmoil overshadowed the on-screen drama. They were all preoccupied with Dae-young and his affections. Deok-jin, drowning his sorrows with Hae-rin, lamented Hae-in's rejection. Their elevator ride home took a dramatic turn when Deok-jin, claustrophobic, fainted. Hae-rin, unable to reach help immediately, considered giving him mouth-to-mouth but decided against it. It would either kill Deok-jin from lack of oxygen, or both of them from nausea. Just then, the elevator doors finally opened. Deok-jin awoke in a hospital bed, Hae-in by his side, deeply concerned. Hae-rin had orchestrated the whole thing, contacting Hae-in and subtly revealing her feelings for Deok-jin. The next morning brought more comedic misunderstandings. Dae-young, returning Shi-woo's shirt, was mistaken by Da-young for a persistent admirer. She coldly dismissed him in front of her mother and stormed off. Later, Xia, making the same assumption, also berated him. In Ra, bewildered, wondered if they'd both woken up on the wrong side of the bed. Only Shi-woo greeted Dae-young cheerfully, highlighting the complexities of love and the simplicity of friendship. Hae-rin and Deok-jin had an awkward encounter in the elevator. Deok-jin confided his dilemma. As Dae-young's fake father, he was hindering his relationship with Hae-in. Hae-rin advised him to choose between Dae-young and Hae-in. Dae-young, though torn, refused to give up on either. Their argument was overheard by Deok-jin's employees, who mistakenly assumed he was confessing his love to Hae-rin and being rejected. Later, Deok-jin announced a gaming-themed party, co-hosted with the baseball team. Deok-jin, planning a grand confession at the party, had his employees, who mistakenly believed he was pursuing Hae-rin, excitedly offering their support. Meanwhile, Hae-in, engrossed in a video game, received a text from Deok-jin inviting her to the party, leaving her confused and intrigued. At the party, Da-young, spotting Da-young, panicked and ran, accidentally falling into a shallow pool. Both Dae-young and Ji-hoon jumped in to save her, only to find her standing up, the water barely reaching her knees. The two men, now soaking wet, stood there awkwardly, their muscles prominently displayed as the sprinklers suddenly turned on. The scene was visually stunning, every frame a potential wallpaper. Later, as they changed clothes, the muscle men engaged in a tense confrontation. Ji-hoon confessed his feelings for Da-young and warned Dae-young to give up his teenage fantasies. Dae-young, calmly buttoning his shirt, retorted that appearances could be deceiving and that Ji-hoon should underestimate him at his own peril. Da-young overheard a conversation between Boe and Xia about Dae-young's supposed crush on Xia. An embarrassed and confused Xia confronted Dae-young, leading to Da-young mistakenly believing the rumors were true. However, Xia and Dae-young cleared the air, reaffirming their platonic friendship. Da-young, relieved, sought out Dae-young to apologize for the misunderstanding and thank him for his kindness, acknowledging that she sometimes saw glimpses of her husband in him. Under the half moon, she expressed her hope that the man who'd once shared that view with her was now happy. Dae-young's feelings were about to overflow. Deok-jin's grand confession arrived. After a heartfelt speech, he knelt, presenting a gift. A moved Hae-in was about to join him on stage when two well-meaning but clueless employees pushed Hae-rin forward. A furious Hae-in misunderstood and stormed off, followed by a frantic Deok-jin and Hae-rin. After clearing the air, Hae-in noticed the gift, a reality stone ring which Deok Jin, in a geeky moment, referred to as a time stone. They shared a knowing smile. Just then they saw Dae Young and Da Young together. Overcome by his feelings, Dae Young impulsively kissed Da Young, who, stunned, slapped him. The awkward scene was witnessed by Deok Jin, A Rin, and Hye-in. Da Young, fleeing from a pursuing Dae Young, jumped into Ji-hoon's car. Ji-hoon, trying to understand the complicated dynamic between Da Young and Dae Young, was met with evasiveness. Da Young got out of the car early and walked the rest of the way home, only to be intercepted by Dae Young, who was finally ready to reveal his true identity. Just then, Ji-hoon arrived, misinterpreting the situation, and assuming Dae Young was still pursuing Da Young. He stepped in, pretending to be her boyfriend, taking her hand and leading her away. Da Young apologized to Ji-hoon for the charade as they reached her doorstep. Ji-hoon, unfazed, told her not to worry, offering himself as a willing shield against Dae Young's affections. A mortified Da Young thanked him and hurried inside. Watching her go, Ji-hoon wondered what was really going on. The next day, Dae Young received a call from Deok Jin, warning him that Da Young was on her way to see him. Dae Young skipped school and rushed to meet her. Da Young apologized for the kiss, promising to maintain a professional distance from his son. Just then, a text from Hye-in arrived. Having witnessed the kiss, she ended her relationship with Deok Jin, wanting to maintain appropriate boundaries with a student's parent. Deok Jin, alternating between rage and tears, led Da Young to believe he was upset with her. Confused and conflicted, she sought out A Rin, mocking herself for falling for a teenager. She decided to confront Dae Young and end their strange connection, but they ran into each other in the elevator. The memory of the kiss flooded her mind. She tried to speak, but her words caught in her throat, replaced by nervous hiccups. A crowd pushed into the elevator, trapping them in a corner. In the close proximity, Da Young found herself captivated by Dae Young's features. As they exited the elevator, she launched into a flustered tirade, telling him to stay away, leaving him no chance to explain. Their reconciliation was once again postponed. At school, the students wrote down their dream careers. Ji-hoon, remembering Xia's admiration for doctors, wrote "Doctor" as his aspiration. During career counseling sessions, Ja-sung declared his ambition to become a real estate tycoon, citing a famous Korean basketball player who, after retiring, became a successful entertainer and real estate investor. Boe, all of 5, dreamt of becoming a model. The ever-changing aspirations of teenagers amused and exasperated Hye-in. She declared her intention to skip college altogether. A concerned Hye-in urged her to discuss it with her parents. Dae Young, overhearing the conversation, later subtly questioned Xia about her plans, learning of her passion for makeup artistry. Meanwhile, Da Young caught a senior employee secretly taking photos of Yu-mi. The senior employee, who had been Yu-mi's mentor, berated Da Young for interfering, reminding her of his influence over new recruits' careers and demanding an apology from both women. Da Young refused and reported him to the police, ruining the expensive shoes her secret admirer had given her. Yu-mi, witnessing the scene, timidly questioned Da Young's actions, fearing retaliation. Da Young gently explained that victims shouldn't have to apologize and that she was protecting Yu-mi, just as she would protect her daughter. As she finished speaking, Yu-mi's senior colleague called her away like a pet, highlighting the stark contrast in their characters. A promo for Da Young's divorce show appeared on TV. Da Young's colleagues were outraged to see a promo for her show featuring a different host. The network had replaced her with a more marketable candidate. Dejected, she left the station and ran into Ji-hoon, who'd come to offer support. The tabloid photographer who'd previously spread false rumors about Ji-hoon was lurking nearby, trying to capture a compromising photo. Ji-hoon, spotting him, sent Dae Young off on an errand to get his shoes repaired and then confronted the photographer, confiscating his memory card and threatening legal action if he ever targeted Da Young again. Ji-hoon waited for Da Young in his car. Talking about her damaged shoe, Da Young realized that Ji-hoon wasn't the secret admirer who'd gifted her the expensive heels. Ji-hoon realized he had a rival. He took Da Young to the cherry blossom street they'd walked before. The blossoms were gone, but the romantic atmosphere remained. He placed a ring on her finger, confessing his desire to make her happy every day. Since his brother's death, he'd felt lost and alone, but Da Young had filled that void. He wanted to be the person she turned to in times of trouble, the source of her happiness. Despite Ji-hoon's heartfelt confession, Da Young's thoughts remained with Dae Young. She politely declined Ji-hoon's proposal, acknowledging his kindness but unable to reciprocate his feelings. Dae-young, waiting for her to return home, followed her. Across the street, Da-young called him, finding solace only in his voice. He asked about the host change, and her pent-up frustrations poured out. She realized how much she relied on him, how much she missed his presence in their family. Dae-young, longing to cross the street and reveal his true identity, was held back by traffic and his own hesitation. Seeing Da-young rush off after a phone call, he followed her. Money had been stolen from the convenience store where Xia worked, and the security camera had malfunctioned. Xia, the only employee present, was suspected by the owner, who called Da-young. Da-young vehemently defended her daughter, leaving her business card and promising to compensate the owner if the money wasn't found. She questioned Xia, not accusing her of theft, but concerned about her secret job. Xia explained that she loved makeup and had taken the job to save money for a makeup course. Not wanting to burden her mother, Da-young then learned of Xia's decision to skip college. Memories of her struggles without a proper education resurfaced, and she lashed out at Xia, who criticized her for not listening. Xia had spent a year agonizing over this decision. In the heat of the argument, Da-young pointed out her sacrifices to provide for Xia, who hurt and angry, and retorted. Xia, hurt and angry, lashed out, claiming she was an unwanted child, a burden her parents regretted. The argument escalated, and they parted ways, both fuming. Dae-young, witnessing the scene, longed to comfort them both but could only watch helplessly as a distraught. Da-young walked away. Later, Da-young reconciled with her daughter, apologizing for her harsh words and assuring Xia that she was a cherished gift, not a burden. She promised to support Xia's dream, admitting that her own insecurities about her lack of education had fueled her anxieties about Xia's future. After some research, she learned that experience, not formal education, was key in the makeup industry. Xia, her passion reignited, promised to work hard and earn certifications. Just then, In-ra arrived, having bought drinks to console her daughter about the lost hosting gig. The three generations of women shared their troubles, finding comfort and strength in each other's company. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon received a call. The person he'd been searching for, a certain Dae-young, had been located. He will receive the contact information soon. Ji-hoon seemed deep in thought. The next day, Dae-young gave Xia a bank book, claiming it was from her father. A series of touching flashbacks ensued. Xia discovered notes accompanying each deposit: her birthday, her 1-month celebration, her first haircut, her first tooth. Interwoven were scenes of Dae-young's loving interactions with his daughter, Da-young calling him at work, hearing baby Xia's babbling in the background, his exhaustion melting away. Dae-young teaching Xia to ride a bike, a teenage Xia gifting him a hand-knitted scarf for his early morning shifts. Each entry, each memory, a testament to his love. Dae-young's meticulous record-keeping dispelled Xia's belief that she was unwanted. The missing money was found a misunderstanding. Xia quit her job and called Dae-young, asking about his well-being. Her voice choked with tears. She poured out her longing for him, and Dae-young, unable to contain his emotions, wept openly. They arranged to meet. After some hesitation, he also called Da-young, telling her he was nearby and wanted to see her. As Xia left the house, a surprising twist unfolded. Ji-hoon arrived, seemingly on urgent business. Xia's expression was a mixture of shock and confusion. Meanwhile, Da-young, on the phone with Dae-young, asking for his location, suddenly spotted him behind her. Da-young, seeing the familiar face on the phone, froze. It wasn't Deok-jin's son, it was Dae-young. She demanded to know where he got the phone. Still disbelieving, she listened as Dae-young explained his wish and subsequent transformation. His desire to be near his children as a friend. He offered proof, revealing intimate details only Dae-young would know. Their secret spot. The half-moon conversation that had led to the impulsive kiss. Da-young, still unconvinced, dismissed his claims as nonsense and walked away. A bewildered Ji-hoon watched Xia leave. He'd come looking for Dae-young, unaware that Dae-young was Xia's father and Da-young's ex-husband. Da-young, learning of Ji-hoon's visit, mistakenly assumed he was pursuing Dae-young romantically, adding to her confusion about her own feelings. The next day, Sang-hui, reviewing the recruit's performance, was displeased. Da-young, not Yumi, was on the chopping block. He was prejudiced against her status as a mother, but recognized her talent, creating an internal conflict. Meanwhile, Da-young struggled to understand how Deok-jin's son knew so much about her personal life. Her colleagues, assuming she was worried about her job, offered support. Yumi, grateful for Dayoung's recent help, expressed her concerns. Ji-hoon, learning about Xia's bank book, realized he'd misjudged Dae-young. Seeing Dae-young greet Xia, he felt a surge of jealousy. After confirming that Xia's feelings for Dae-young were platonic, Ji-hoon confessed his feelings for her, startling her and causing her to flee. That evening, two jealous classmates taunted Xia about Ja-song's confession. Xia, normally tolerant, retaliated when they insulted her mother, using her self-defense skills to fight back. They were outnumbered until Ji-hoon arrived, rescuing her. Ja-song, intercepting the bullies, threatened them, warning them to stay away from both Xia and her friend, Ji-hoon. He was unknowingly playing the role of the silent protector in their burgeoning romance, oblivious to their growing connection. After the fight, Xia, still flustered by Ji-hoon's confession, took his hand, a silent acknowledgement of her feelings. A-rin and Dayoung, now drunk, discussed Dae-young's revelation. Dayoung remained skeptical about his transformation. A-rin, defending him, argued that if gods and aliens existed, then turning young again wasn't so far-fetched. Dayoung, dismissing her friend's drunken ramblings, put her in a taxi. Downstairs, Dae-young waited for Shi-woo to go to basketball practice. Shi-woo helped his grandmother pack. As she was leaving the next day, Dayoung arrived home, forbidding Shi-woo from going to basketball practice with Dae-young that evening. She demanded Shi-woo keep his distance from Dae-young and not neglect his other friends. Shi-woo mumbled that he had no other friends. Dayoung, hearing about Shi-woo's past bullying and Dae-young's intervention, was speechless. Meanwhile, Woong-ki presented Sang-hui with the final evaluations of the new recruits. Sang-hui, seeing the results, was furious. He stormed out, summoning the new employees. As expected, the controversial Dayoung was let go. Despite putting on a brave face, tears streamed down her cheeks. Sang-hui, deeply affected, confronted the head of the variety department, responsible for Dayoung's low evaluation and the cancellation of her successful show. He declared he would no longer allow his anchors to work with that department. Exhausted, Sang-hui confided in Woong-ki his regret over his prejudice against Dayoung. He worried about the prevalence of such bias in the industry. Meanwhile, a heartbroken Dayoung walked home in the pouring rain, her ID card falling and getting soaked. As she despaired, someone picked it up for her. She snatched the card from Dae-young, a small flicker of comfort warming her amidst the storm. Dae-young, unfazed by her coldness, confessed he'd come looking for her because he missed her. His words, devoid of the usual teenage awkwardness, resonated with her. Dayoung, confirming that Dae-young hadn't revealed his true identity to their children, told him she would forget everything that had happened at the party. Dae-young, seeing her tears when he'd picked up her ID card, didn't press the issue, offering her his umbrella. Before leaving, he told her not to overthink things, to rest, and that she'd been doing great. His words, echoing his past reassurances, startled her. Just then, Dayoung received a call. Her repaired shoes were ready. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon's investigation into Dae-young yielded a shocking result. A photo from the scene of his brother's accident showed a man who was later identified as Dae-young. Further investigation revealed that Dae-young's company had confirmed his involvement in an accident that same day. Ji-hoon was stunned by the connection between his brother's death and Dayoung's husband. He called Dae-young, asking if he remembered the Christmas Eve car accident. Ji-hoon pressed Dae-young for answers, asking why he'd caused the accident. Dae-young stammered an apology, but the reason for his actions remained a mystery. Meanwhile, Dayoung, waiting for her shoes, spoke to her mother, who recounted how Daeok-jin's son had escorted her to the bus stop and bought her favorite red bean pastries, reminding her of Dae-young. The shoe repairman arrived, and Dayoung paused the call. He revealed that a young man had originally brought in the shoes, enthusiastically recommending Dayoung's show. Dayoung, her mind reeling, stepped outside, overwhelmed by the mounting evidence, the thoughtful gestures, the familiar words of comfort, the shared secrets. The image of Dae-young merged with that of Daeok-jin's son, and she finally surrendered to the impossible truth. She called Dae-young, demanding a meeting. The ensuing confrontation was a whirlwind of emotions. She accused him of ruining her life, regretting their meeting, claiming she'd moved on. Why did he persist in his kindness, in his presence? Every time she saw him, this younger version of him, she was reminded of the husband she'd lost. "I miss you, Dae-young," she confessed, tears streaming down her face. He pulled her close, whispering, "I miss you too." The initial chill of the night gave way to a shared warmth. He kissed her, a deep, passionate kiss that left no room for doubt. Dayoung finally recognized her husband. The familiar kiss confirmed what her heart already knew. After the passionate reunion, they talked, finally clearing the air. He explained his initial suspicion of her infidelity, and she apologized for using Ji-hoon as a shield. They walked through the night, rediscovering each other. At school, Shi-ah and Ji-hoon shared a sweet moment, holding hands until a startled Ji-hoon saw Dae-young. Having seen the old video and realizing the resemblance between young Dae-young and Deok-jin's son, he now saw Dae-young as his potential father-in-law. Da-young, playing along with the charade, jokingly confessed to falling for Deok-jin's son, then texted her friends, revealing that she knew the truth. The ageless couple resumed their romance, making up for lost time. Dae-young, however, couldn't resist asking about Da-young's first love, still bothered by Shi-ah's comment that he wasn't her mother's first love. Da-young, amused by his jealousy, changed the subject. Later, at dinner, Da-young was recognized as the TV host, sparking gossip about the age gap between her and Dae-young. As Dae-young walked home, he saw Shi-ah holding hands with Ji-ho. Shi-ah, assuming Ji-ho still saw Dae-young as a rival, pointedly held his hand. Dae-young, realizing they were dating, was conflicted. He'd promised to be Shi-ah's friend, but couldn't bring himself to react like a typical disapproving father. Then, a surprising twist occurred. Ji-ho, having followed Dae-young and noticed his unusual behavior, called him, pretending to be a school official, and skillfully extracted Dae-young's true identity. Dae-young, cornered, confessed everything. Ji-ho, amazed, apologized for seeing him as a rival and expressed his support for his relationship with Shi-ah. Then, Ji-ho shared a bittersweet observation. While walking Shi-ah home, he'd seen Dae-young hugging Da-young. Already suspicious of Dae-young's identity, he'd quickly pulled Shi-ah away. Shi-ah, witnessing the affectionate scene, lamented her own lost opportunities to connect with her father. Dae-young, hearing her words, was deeply moved. The school basketball coach announced that Dae-young and Shi-woo had caught the attention of a university scout. A strong performance in the upcoming finals could secure them scholarships. An elated Shi-woo urged Dae-young to go home, then called his father, asking if he could attend the game. Dae-young, listening from afar, felt a pang of regret. In his current state, he couldn't attend. Shi-woo, understanding, expressed his disappointment but accepted the situation. Later, Dae-young returned to Shi-woo, who, opening up to his friend, revealed his motivation for playing basketball. His father had sacrificed his basketball dreams for him, and Shi-woo wanted to fulfill those dreams in his stead. Dae-young, hearing his son's heartfelt confession, was deeply touched. Meanwhile, Da-young called in to cover a last-minute opening at the baseball game broadcast. Impressed Yu-mi with her dedication. Da-young then noticed a news report about Ji-hoon, who seemed to be struggling. She ran into him, and they talked. Ji-hoon, learning about her dismissal from the TV station, was furious. Da-young, in turn, asked about his recent emotional turmoil. Ji-hoon explained his efforts to reunite his niece with her birth mother, who had coldly rejected the child. Da-young advised him to be a supportive uncle, not a replacement father. Da-young's words resonated with Ji-hoon. He then confessed a hidden truth during the car accident that killed his brother. Dae-young, the driver of the car that rear-ended them, had saved his niece. He tried to save Ji-hoon's brother as well, but a passing truck had struck his car. Ji-hoon had searched for Dae-young to thank him, but Dae-young had simply said he hadn't done it for recognition. But because he'd been reminded of his daughter, Ji-hoon admitted his feelings for Da-young, but acknowledged he couldn't compete with a man like Dae-young. They agreed to remain friends. The mysterious figure then leaked a private video of Da-young, adding another layer of intrigue. The video showed Da-young learning about Shi-woo's potential university scholarship and Dae-young's possible recruitment, which he seemed hesitant about. The video then cuts to Da-young watching highlights of the 2002 World Cup, triggering a flashback to those difficult years. She used to take her children to the bus stop to meet Dae-young, who worked at a bar, borrowing money from his boss, his lack of education hindering his prospects. During the World Cup frenzy, the bar was packed. Dae-young, cleaning up broken glass, injured his hand. Overwhelmed by the hardships of life, he cried on the bus ride home, hiding his tears from his family. He received a call from In-ra, who, sensing his struggles, only shared positive news, hiding her worries. Dae-young got off at the next stop, wiping his tears and forcing a smile before rejoining his family. They had faced those difficult years together. Back in the present, overwhelmed by the memories, Da-young called Dae-young. She confessed her regret for revealing her pregnancy before his crucial game all those years ago. Now, she urged him to prioritize his own dreams, not to sacrifice his future for his family. Despite his pleas, she walked away, determined to give him the chance he'd never had. Dae-young spent the night at the basketball court, practicing relentlessly, tears streaming down his face, hoping to regain his original body. The next day, despite his unsuccessful attempt, he persisted, seeking out Dae-young again. Using the game of truth or dare as a springboard, Dae-young delivered his final confession. He admitted that basketball had been his life, but his transformation had given him a new perspective. Witnessing his children's first steps and hearing them call him Dad, these moments were more fulfilling than any MVP trophy. He didn't regret his choices, feeling grateful for having chosen the right woman to spend his life with. His heartfelt words unlocked the final barrier. He transformed back into his older self, and Dae-young, overwhelmed with emotion, embraced him. They kissed, and their love rekindled. Rushing to Siwoo's game, they arrived just in time to see him play. Dae-young's presence boosted Siwoo's confidence. The team, initially losing, rallied behind Siwoo's impressive plays, culminating in a game-winning three-pointer. Siwoo, carrying on his father's legacy, embraced Dae-young tightly. Meanwhile, Xia encountered the two bullies again. Their father, also a formidable presence, joined the confrontation. Dae-young intervened, his words silencing the bullies and forcing an apology. Xia hugged her hero. Later, the reunited family shared a celebratory dinner. Dae-young apologized for his past conflicts with Dae-young and asked to come home, receiving a unanimous yes from his family. The next day, the leaked video of Dae-young confronting the photographer went viral, revealing Yumi's involvement. Dae-young's actions earned her public praise and numerous job offers. Dae-young became her manager. Dae-young, after some reflection, met with Yumi, who, having learned her lesson, helped Dae-young regain her broadcasting career, redeeming herself in the process. Dae-young then rushed to the school to discuss Xia's future with Hye-in. To Hye-in's surprise, he supported Xia's decision to pursue makeup artistry, not college. He then received an invitation from Ji-hoon, thanking him for saving his niece. Dae-young, Da-young, and Seo Yeon watched Ji-hoon's triumphant return to form on the baseball field. After the game, Ji-hoon thanked Dae-young again, who, in turn, expressed his admiration for the baseball star. No longer rivals, Ji-hoon and Dae-young developed a newfound respect for each other. Ji-hoon, true to his word, brought joy back into Seo Yeon's life. Then, in a truly unique gesture, Deok-jin, dressed in a homemade Iron Man suit, flew to Hye-in, who happened to be cosplaying as Pepper Potts, Iron Man being Hye-in's favorite superhero. Deok-jin's grand gesture melted her heart. Dae-young had previously confided in Hye-in that he wasn't Deok-jin's son, explaining that he'd found his biological father and would soon be returning to America. This revelation eased Hye-in's concerns about dating a student's parent. Seeing Deok-jin's genuine kindness, she kissed him, and stark, Deok-jin in tears, Pepper, Hye-in officially became a couple. 2 years later, Xia's high school reunion was a lively affair. Ji-ho, inspired by her earlier comment, had become a doctor. Ja-sung, still hopelessly devoted, watched Xia and Ji-ho's affectionate display. Siwoo, pursuing his basketball dreams, had also found love, inheriting his father's thoughtful nature. Dae-young, having opened a successful youth basketball academy, was passing on his skills to the next generation. Dae-young had become a respected sports broadcaster. Her colleagues were now close friends. Dae-young took Da-young to the basketball court, recreating their earlier challenge. If he made the shot, she had to grant him a request, a proper wedding ceremony. To make up for their simple wedding years ago, Da-young, touched by the romantic gesture, tearfully agreed, and news of their upcoming wedding went viral. Woon-ki, now Sung-hwee's successor, tried to generate similar publicity by leaking his own remarriage news, but the reporter hung up on him. A-rin's wedding gift to Da-young was a paragliding experience. Dae-young, seeing a photo of Da-young soaring through the sky, smiled. Deok-jin and Hye-in meticulously chose a wedding gift, and Deok-jin's unique taste led to a rather unusual choice. On their wedding day, Dae-young was bemused to find Deok-jin's gift, a life-size Deadpool statue. The humor aside, the ceremony was beautiful. Dae-young and Da-young radiating happiness as they renewed their vows, their love transcending time. The guests were deeply moved. A-rin and Da-young's colleagues sharing a moment of connection. The elderly man who'd sent Dae-young on his journey appeared, sharing a knowing look and a secret gesture with Dae-young. It was a testament to the magic of second chances and the power of love. Don't forget to hit that like button. May you all find lasting love, free of regrets, a love so deep that you wake up every day next to the person you cherish. That's all for today's story. I've got more stories and good drinks to share, so stick around. Bye-bye.